We have got a weird situation for today in MLB DFS because usually I am telling you, probably to an annoying extent, that you got to spend up for pitching. You got to spend up to get those strikeouts because usually to get a high strikeout guy, you're breaking the bank to get there. Today, my favorite pitcher, straight up, before considering a salary, checks in at $8,000. That is Joe Musgrove facing the Cardinals. I don't know what to do with myself. My self-identity as someone who always spends with a pitcher, totally in flux. We're going to break things down for today. I'll let you know why I love Musgrove and get you set for Friday's MLB DFS slate. Welcome on into the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A. That's right here on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter pages. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire.com, here to answer your questions about Friday's slate for MLB DFS. As always, no matter where you are watching for today, you can get your questions in. We'll take them in the chat section over on YouTube, also taking questions via Twitch and Facebook. So if you're watching on Facebook or Twitch, put those questions in. We'll answer them live here on air to get you set for tonight's slate. We can talk pitchers, we can talk stacks, we can talk one-offs, value plays, MLB DFS process, whatever is on your mind. Put it in the chat section, and we'll get to it here for today. But the key for me on this slate is Joe Musgrove. So let's start things off there. As you can see in the FanDuel player pool, he is $8,000 for today, facing the Cardinals, and Joe Musgrove, someone I want to build around. So let's go over to Joe Musgrove's FanGraphs page, pull that up, and show you why I am intrigued by him for tonight. I also think this kind of this plays into things, because if you look at the game logs for Joe Musgrove, you'll see that he's had a rough go of it recently. He had the Dodgers game, but that's the Dodgers. Everyone's rough against the Dodgers. After that, 2 games against the Giants. The results there were not good. He allowed 5 earned runs in one, 4 earned runs in another. That's pretty tough. But 13 strikeouts across those 2 starts, 6 in one, 7 in the other. The strikeout rate was still high. The Dodgers, the strikeout rate was low, but again, it's the Dodgers. Everybody kind of struggles against that team. If we look at the full sample on Joe Musgrove, which I think is justified because, again, you look at the plate discipline data, still getting whiffs, still pitching pretty well overall. If we look at the full season data on Joe Musgrove, you're going to see a portrait of a pitcher who is really freaking good. For the full season, a 2.43 skill interactive ERA, 35% strikeout rate, 5% walk rate. Those are tremendous numbers across the board. He leads this slate in skill interactive ERA for each pitcher's most relevant sample. He is third in strikeout rate behind Scherzer and Glasnow. He ranks well in walk rate. Facing the Cardinals, 86 WRC plus against righties. They do strike out an okay amount, not a huge amount. Low temperatures for today. So to me, I would say just take advantage of a pitcher who is very good, being under salary, to load up on Joe Musgrove, and don't ask too many questions as to why he is as low salaried as he is. Question over on Facebook from Jason. Hello, Jason. He is asking an Atlanta stack or a Houston stack. Let's pull up the numbers here, go over to the hitter tab, and see what we have here for Atlanta and Houston. We have the Braves facing Adrian Hauser. Hauser's not really someone I want to stack against. Tends to be pretty good at limiting hard contact against him. 7.4% barrel rate this year. I believe he had a really impressive start last time out. He is throwing more sinkers, so that means probably less hard contact against him. Not a super big strikeout guy, but not someone I really want to stack against. So I'm not super high in the Braves. So let's check out Houston here instead. Facing West Benjamin, I can definitely get on board with the Astros for today. So Jason, between those two, we're going Houston. They're facing Benjamin. Doesn't project to be someone who gets a lot of strikeouts. I believe the numbers I have here are from the bat, his projections, or could be a different, no, this is his career. Okay, so this is the big league career for West Benjamin. 4.70 skill interactive ERA, 21% strikeout rate, 7.1% barrel rate against, and all these numbers have come as a long reliever. Now he goes into the rotation, and you kind of, what you should do with these numbers is jack up the skill interactive ERA, bring down the strikeout rate, bring up the barrel percentage, because you can't throw as hard when you are pitching in long bursts as opposed to short bursts. So I would say the Astros actually graded out really well for today. They got warmer temperatures in a lot of places for this one. So Astros not my favorite stack for today, but they're probably about fourth or so, Jason. So Jason, I'm definitely on board with stacking the Astros for today against Benjamin. Diffuse. Who stands out as the best Yankees value for you? Yankees facing Dean Kramer. Kramer does have a pretty rough ERA this year, so I get the questions around the Yankees. Let's pull up the numbers here for Kramer and see what we're working with. They don't profile as being like a must stack for me. If you look at their implied total, I would bet they're probably going to be popular. So, the Yankees are the Yankees. People tend to want to use them. I can understand why. Again, Kramer is struggling with the results this year, not doing great batted ball suppression, not getting a lot of strikeouts. So it does make sense to stack the Yankees for today. Let's see if the lineup is out here for the Yankees as of yet. Probably not. It is not. So we'll go over here. Check out a projected lineup for them with no Gleyber Torres for today. I've been using Torres a decent amount. I know it hasn't really worked out necessarily, but bummer to see him be out for this one. Okay. We got Urshela banged up. I've also been in on Urshela. Luke Voit. Okay, let's check out Luke Voit. See what he's been doing since he came back. I feel okay about Voit as far as buying into him off the injury because he didn't have like one of the checklist injuries, not an abdomen not an abdominal strain, not a wrist or anything like that. I feel okay targeting him fresh off his injury versus some other guys. Let's check out the plate discipline data here on Voit. A couple strikeouts, but not too bad. A lot of whiffs, not a high contact rate. The StatCast data, he's put 4 balls in play. One of them was barreled, a couple hard hit balls. So I think that Voit is looking okay. A little bit worried about the plate discipline data, not looking great, but hey, it's 8 plate appearances. Don't really know. I guess he's faced some decent pitchers in that time, but I think that Voit is fine. I would say among the value plays, Voit would probably be the guy we would turn to first, just because we know long-term he's going to hit for power, probably going to hit a good spot in the order. $2,800. I think he makes a lot of sense. If I were picking one Yankee value play, I would say Voit. It depends on Urshela. Let's see what his numbers look like. It looks like they expect him to play for today. I had been using Urshela a lot earlier in the year. He was putting up some decent numbers. 38% hard hit rate versus righties. 33% fly ball rate, 20% strike rate, good power numbers. I would say if Urshela plays, I would go to him. But Voit is one for sure, whether Urshela plays or not. Urshela would just be number 2 if he gets in there. It looks like Jordan likes Voit as well, so I like that. We'll take that for sure. Okay, Mike, over on Facebook, how do you feel about a national stack? Love it, Mike. They are my number 1 stack for today. They are facing Riley Smith, not a guy who projects to get a lot of strikeouts. These numbers for him are as a long reliever. So again, same discussion we had with Wes Benjamin, where you take all those numbers and you push them in the wrong direction from a pitching perspective because it's tougher to pitch as a starter than it is as a reliever. He had a 9% strikeout rate. So that means he's going to let up a lot of balls in play at a park that is very warm, 97 degrees. They will likely have the roof open because they tend to do that out in Phoenix. So a lot of balls in play, warm weather, that bodes well for the opposing team. So, Mike, I would say the Nationals are my number 1 stack as of right now. Let's take a look at the salaries here because I know they're not too restrictive. And the good thing is because we have Musgrove as our pitcher, we can afford to get to the big-time studs here. We can go with Trey Turner. We can go with Juan Soto. 3150 left. That's not too bad at all. I'm going to put in Schwarber, and I want Josh Bell. I would also consider Yan Gomes, depending on where he bats. $2,500 if you need the extra savings. Yan Gomes, not bad, but Josh Bell hit a nice-looking dinger yesterday. We're going to ride the hot stick there. Actually, let's pull up the Nats numbers to make sure I'm not glossing over someone I should be a little bit higher on here. I can also show you Yan Gomes' numbers to show why I am okay with using him for today. Gomes against righties, 35% hard hit rate, 182 ISO, low strikeout rate. Love to see it. Bell, 44% hard hit rate. Striking out too much still, but hitting for some power. So I think that's the main reason we're drawn there. Josh Harrison, not a ton of hard contact, not a ton of power, whatever. Starlin Castro, not a ton of power either, not a ton of hard contact. So if I'm looking at like a 4-person stack on the Nationals, I think Bell, Turner, Soto, Schwarber would be the main guys I would turn to there. But if you need a more of a salary saver and want to move the needle a little bit more there, if Yan Gomes starts, I'd plug him in over Bell. 33.50 left. That gives you a lot of flexibility to go kind of wherever you want with your second stack. Again, anything with Musgrove will look good because his salary is so low, but 33.50 left for your second stack is plenty of room to work with. DJ over on Facebook, Frankie Montas or Nick Pivetta? Neither is going to be my answer, but let's take a look at them here. Montas is facing the Twins. I know the Twins have lost a lot of games, but they've still been a good offense. A 110 WRC plus against righties. Montas not getting enough strikeouts this year, 19% strikeout rate, 13.3% barrel rate against, which means he's actually allowing a lot of balls in play and a lot of hard contact. So I'm not saying you should stack the Twins, given how poorly they're playing, but I think I might rather stack the Twins than use Montas as a pitcher. So I'm pretty low on Montas, DJ. As far as Nick Pivetta goes, he's facing the Angels, really tough matchup, low strikeout team, a lot of walks. He's doing pretty good at batted ball suppression, but I would say neither is my answer there. I don't see any reason to get down there personally. If this is for like season long, I might avoid too, because like both guys have really bad floors. So I'm probably avoiding both. If you're looking for like a super value player, someone to stream in season long, I picked up David. It's a 10-team league, so takes with a grain of salt. But I think David Peterson today, he'd probably be the guy I would take over both Montas and Pivetta for today. Kyle, do you take a shot on Miley tonight, even though he's in Coors? No. He's coming off a no-hitter, which is great, and Colorado stinks. He just doesn't get enough strikeouts. Let's pull up the numbers here on Wade Miley. I believe these are for the full season for Miley. Where are my notes on him? That's the right one. Okay. Lots of change. Yes, the 6 total starts for Miley. Pitch count's good. 20% strikeout rate, though. That's not high enough. I need more strikeouts. So in general, Kyle, I am okay using pitchers at Coors Field because if they get enough strikeouts, I can use the saying, in order to take advantage of Coors, you got to put the ball in play. But the Rockies are probably going to put the ball in play against Miley for today. He's kind of like he's doing a little bit of like a Kyle Hendricks type thing here, where he is pitching really well, but not getting strikeouts. So I'm not going to stack. I shouldn't say that. I'm not eager to stack against Miley. I probably will at times because it's Coors Field, but I'm definitely not going to use him as a pitcher just because the strikeout rate not high enough for me to get there for tonight. So the main focus for so far has been on Joe Musgrove as a pitcher. I will say, though, that like there's still some value in considering Max Scherzer and Tyler Glass now. Okay, so DJ asked for Wade Miley or in Savali. No Miley, as mentioned, because of Coors Field. Savali, let's see. Is he... Yeah, he's facing the Mariners. Savali's also a low strikeout guy. He's a better like real world pitcher. So if I had to choose, I'd go Savali, but I don't want either. I really don't want either. Just not enough strikeouts for either guy. Should I stack Philadelphia or Colorado? So Colorado is facing Miley, and then Philadelphia is facing Steven Matz. Neither situation is what I would call necessarily like ideal. I think I might. I mean, I'd probably go Colorado just because it's in Colorado. I think that's kind of where I'm looking there. But I would say not super into either, but I prefer the Rockies between the two. Over on Twitch, a question from Yosh. The Phillies get familiar. Do they get to the familiar Mats tonight? Third straight game versus the left-handed pitcher. I've actually stacked the the Phillies a couple times recently. Hasn't always been great, hasn't been terrible. I guess I wouldn't say either, but I think that with Mats, you can justify stacking the Phillies for today. And the reason you can justify it is because Mats decently low strikeout rate, low walk rate. That means he is letting up a lot of balls in play, 10.1% barrel rate allowed, and it's a good park. 81 degrees in Dunedin for tonight. Good park factor there, and they go to Buffalo eventually. I don't think they're there yet. So still in Dunedin for right now. That means it's a good park for hitting. So you can justify the Phillies there as a result of that. I think that Matz is a good overall pitcher, which is why I don't necessarily want to go at the Phillies, but I think you can justify it. That's the way I'd phrase that for Yosh. You can justify stacking the Phillies because of the park and because Matz does let up enough balls in play and enough hard contact where they're fine, but not what I want to seek out. Kyle, pretty much go Peterson on the low end. Yes, I would agree with that. David Peterson, the numbers I have in my sheet here for Peterson are in his past 5 starts. In his first start, didn't throw a lot of sinkers. Sinker usage went up quite a bit in his second start, which I hate. Sinkers are terrible. So I hate that, but it's worked out. So kudos to him for going with the sinker and making it work. In the past 5 starts, a 3.34 skill interactive ERA, 30% strikeout rate. The Rays love to strike out against lefties, a 32% strikeout rate. They were about 28% last year, I think. So that'll probably, it's not going to be 31.7%, but it'll probably stick pretty high regardless. Peterson has had low pitch counts for the most part. He's maxed out at 92, but going to an American League park, it means he doesn't get to face a pitcher for tonight, but it also means he's not going to leave for a pinch hitter. So I would say David Peterson is viable. He is $6,600. You can go with whatever hitters you want. If you use David Peterson as your pitcher, I think that's fine. I would say, though, I'd rather spend up for Musgrove at $88 or $8,000. That's so low salary. You can still go nuts a hitter if you want. So I think I'd rather get to Musgrove, but if you really want to value play, don't want to go Musgrove, Peterson is number 2 there for sure. Michael, Glasnow versus Mets and a game stack of Angels versus Red Sox. Thoughts? Glasnow, I'm in. It is risky for sure. So if you are risk-averse, Michael, good luck, because there are a lot of things that can go wrong here. He has a 12% walk rate and an 18.4% barrel rate. This is over his past 4 starts. He's been throwing his four-seam fastball less often there. That weird Toronto game happened where he let up like 4 runs in the first inning, but got 4 strikeouts in the first inning. He's going to get hit around, but he's going to get strikeouts too. So I would view Glasnow from a range of outcomes type discussion. His floor, we'll do this here, his floor is low down here, but his ceiling is still very high. So I think that makes it worthwhile to use Glasnow as long as you are okay with risk and know that the risk is in the profile there. Personally, I like risk. I'm fine with that. So I'm still going to use him, but he does rank below Musgrove and Scherzer for me for tonight. As far as the Angels versus the Red Sox, we've got Griffin Canning and Nick Pivetta. Mentioned before, I'm not super into Pivetta as a pitcher. He's also not my favorite to stack against because he doesn't let up a ton of balls in play, a high walk rate, low barrel percentage against it, and Canning's actually pretty similar. So from an offensive perspective, both those teams are pretty good, and they're good matchups. They're facing guys who will let up base runners, but because I'm not going to maximize balls in play by going there, I am a little bit lower on that one. So I think that going with Glasnow is good. Definitely on board with that. I would probably look elsewhere for your stacks. Let's talk about some other stacks we could talk about here. I was going to go into to Scherzer, but probably don't have to sell most of you on Max Scherzer. Revenge game, mind you, against Arizona for tonight. But let's talk about some stacks here. Other stacks. Besides the Nationals, I don't mind the Brewers. Like, let's say you want to get to Scherzer or you want to get to Glasnow. You got to find ways to save salary. You want to get to Soto. You want to get to Turner with those guys. I think the best route for doing so is with the Brewers. They're facing Drew Smyly, not getting enough strikeouts this year, letting up a ton of hard contact. And the Brewers so far this year, putting up some decent numbers versus lefties. Will that stick? I don't know. But they have guys I like using versus left-handed pitching. So they do have their lineup in there. Let's pull up the Brewers lineup. Let's clear out the Nationals here first. And then put Musgrove back in as our pitcher. Actually, no, let's go Scherzer. Because why not? Because we want to see how much wiggle room we can give ourselves by stacking the Brewers here against Drew Smyly. Okay, Brewers lineup. I'm going to put Tyrone Crawford in first. Tyrone Crawford has had really good barrel numbers the past couple of years, both last year and this year. So feeling good about the power there. Aviso Garcia lost a lot of weight, but he's been hitting the ball pretty well. So I'm okay with that. I like Lorenzo Cain. And then we're going to go to Luis Urias at shortstop because he has a little bit of speed, a little bit of power. It has not shown up necessarily like to a full extent this year, but we've seen glimpses of it. And I think that as the sample gets larger on Luis Urias this year, we're going to see him become a guy who can show some upside from a DFS perspective. Let's dig into his numbers overall here. This won't be against lefties, but given the sample sizes for this year, it's a bit harder to put a lot of stock in what he's done specifically versus lefties or versus righties. 9.5% barrel rate for Luis Urias so far this year. He has an okay expected WOBA, partly because his strikeout rate is still pretty low. But again, Smiley not getting a lot of strikeouts this year, does have a stolen base. I think that as the season goes along, Luis Urias is going to be a guy we're going to wind up using in DFS in order to save a decent amount of salary. So to me, minimum salary, $2,000. If you plug in those four guys, you got $3,100 left. Might not be able to get both Soto and Turner in there, but you can get one. So I think that the Brewers are a really good stack to turn to today if you're trying to save some salary with those other pitchers. Kyle, last question. Thinking about throwing in Tyrone Taylor as his productivity has increased quite a bit and going against Smiley, I'm more apt to think that continues. Kyle, didn't see this question before we talked about it. Great timing, man. Let's pull up Tyrone Taylor's numbers here just so you can see what Kyle and I are both thinking with Tyrone Taylor as far as being a good value play for today. Batting third for the Brewers. Love that. This won't show up on this page, but Taylor, when he has started, has been finishing games. So it's not a situation where he's in there just because they're facing a lefty. They've been letting him play the entire game when he has started. Okay, so we got 119 career plate appearances for Tyrone Taylor. His barrel percentage is 11.1%. That's really good. You can see the results are good, but also the advanced numbers, the peripherals are solid as well. So I think Tyrone Taylor's great. I am very on board with using him. I kind of hope they would use him versus righties a bit too, because I mean, they could use power in that lineup. We know that for sure. So I think that he grades out really well, and I'm very willing to include him as part of a Brewer stack. Urias, I also think is like kind of in the same mold, batting sixth, a little bit lower in the order, has not flashed the same productivity so far this year. But again, I think that could come as the sample expands. So to me, this is the 4-player stack you go with if you want to get to Scherzer and make that a whole lot easier. Like Kyle mentioned over on YouTube, Smiley is letting up a lot of hard contact this year, not getting the same strikeout numbers he did last year. This is a good way to give yourself flexibility with your second stack while still getting to Max Scherzer. Okay, so let's go back over here, try to find some more stacks we can talk about for today. Mention the Brewers, mention the Nationals. Which other stacks do we like? I like the Cubs facing Tarek Skubal. Skubal is increasing his strikeout rate because he's been throwing his splitter more often as opposed to his slider, and that's probably a good thing given the way the results had gone for Skubal so far this year. However, he is letting up a lot of hard contact, a 21% barrel rate against Tarek Skubal. There is not a single batter who is qualified in Major League Baseball as of right now who has a barrel percentage higher than the one Skubal is allowing so far this year. That means the Cubs are going to be in a pretty good spot for today. Temperature is 68 degrees in Detroit. That's not too bad. So let's go over here to the Cubs. Their lineup is in. I'm not sure if I've refreshed this late enough to get their lineup in here. Okay, we are good to go. So we do have the Cubs full lineup. Let's see if Chris Bryant is in there, and he is. All right. So we're going to put Joe Musgrove into our pitcher. I know it's not fun because we know we can afford everybody, but just for funsies, let's put in Musgrove here, and let's scroll over to the Cubs, build out a stack based on their lineup. I'm going to put Chris Bryant in there first because he's been outstanding so far this year. Is Wilson Contreras playing? He is. Okay, we'll put him in second. Love that. Probably going to put Javi in there. The problem is that the strikeout rate is really, really high, and the one thing Skubal is doing recently is getting some strikeouts. So a little bit scared of Javi as a result of the increasing strikeout rate. But David Bodie is in there, and David Bodie actually has a really high barrel percentage so far this year. It's a small sample, but I think it's 14% or something stupid like that. Let's check it out just to make sure I'm not totally lying to you here, because I'd rather not give out bad info. Seems like a bad thing to do on a Friday to all you fine people. 14.3% barrel rate for David Bodie so far this year across 113 plate appearances. That's actually a decent sample. So I'm in, man. I think that I know the results have been bad, but his expected WOBA is 344. Alex Chamberlain on Twitter has been doing a good job of tracking actual WOBA versus expected WOBA. We've seen a lot of numbers where there is a gap between those this year. So even though his expected WOBA is 344, I wouldn't bump it up that much. But overall, the thought is he's underperforming what he should be based on his peripherals. So I think Bodie's pretty sick. So let's go to Bodie, see where we can plug him in. I'm going to go second base because I generally hate second base. So we got 3 guys in there. Let's check out the rest of the Cubs lineup and see who we want to put in for the 4th guy. It probably will wind up being Javi. Let's see what the batted ball numbers look like. So at least when he does make contact, what's he doing? Small sample against lefties, so we don't want to care too much about that. Let's pull up the full numbers for Javier Baez so far this year and expand our sample at least a little bit. See if we can justify using him. 15.1% barrel rate. That's not too bad. Okay. I can get behind that. Hitting for some power. Okay. So let's just do it. Let's go ahead and go with Javi Baez as the 4th part of the stack. Pretty boring to go 1, 2, 4, 5, but with Musgrove, we actually can make that work pretty easily. And if you remember when we were building out our national stack, that's pretty in line with the salary we had remaining earlier. So I think you can make a Cubs national stack work and get all the desirable bets in there while using Joe Musgrove as your pitcher. So I think that works quite a bit. All right, so DJ is asking for a Padres stack. They're facing Johan Oviedo. I don't think that's a terrible idea, DJ. I could get behind that. Oviedo, the numbers I have on him are a pretty small sample. And if I recall, the advanced numbers on him were not super overpowering. Padres, obviously, a fine offense, not at full strength, given the guys who are out as of right now. Oviedo has he made 1 start in AAA, low strikeout rate there, getting a lot of whiffs in a small sample this year in the big leagues, but not getting a ton of ground balls, letting up some barrels. So DG, I think the Padres are okay. I can get behind that one as being a stack for today. Michael says hello. What's up, Michael? Welcome to the chat. Appreciate you swinging by. Unfortunately, we're all done for today. So, Michael, appreciate it. If you have additional questions, put them in the chat and I'll answer after the thing. So I'll swing by after I'm done talking. We'll get to more questions because we're all out of time for today. But we're going to be back again on Monday, all next week at 4 p.m. Eastern, breaking down your questions for that day's MLB DFS slate. So make sure you are subscribed on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, or Twitter. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button. That does help us out quite a bit. We appreciate it very much. Thank you to everyone for tuning in for today. We hope you'll have a fantastic weekend. If you have additional questions for me, I am on Twitter at JimSannes, JimSannes. Big thank you to Calvin Theobald, our video producer, for running the video side of things here today. Thank you, Cal, as always. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Go win some money tonight. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll talk to you once again on Monday. This has been the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A.